It's okay.
Welcome. All right, welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm so excited to be sitting down with Michael DeCossola. He is the CEO and founder of Disc, and there's a lot of fantastic and amazing information he's going to share with us today. So thank you for joining us, Mike. Without further ado, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself again, and a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your background.
Sure. Thank you, Robert, for inviting me and the Disc fam.
Yes,
my company is Drone Industry Systems Corp, and we are an autonomous infrastructure solution company. The goal for our company is to make sure that we can figure out how to create safety, security, and sustainability in an autonomous infrastructure. And in order to do that, we had to come up with a bunch of concepts in the R&D stage. It took us over the last 8 years.
Wow.
How do you actually create an autonomous infrastructure in a current existing building infrastructure that already exists? How do you fit it in? And what we realized is that we could repurpose. So repurposing rooftops, and then we filed a patent called the Smart Rooftop and Ground Drone Airport. So from there, you need situational awareness for autonomy, whether it's drones, ground robots, or vehicles, which vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, or air taxis. You're going to need some kind of situational awareness from the departure area to the destination.
Okay.
And so from there, we had to create some kind of auxiliary solutions. And so we repurposed doorbells. We came up with the Smart Delivery Doorbell app. And basically what that's going to do is it's the Smart Delivery Doorbell Miner. So it's a data validating and miner solution that's going to basically allow crypto rewards for the data at the doorstep of the customer. The beauty of that is it allows us to now see, okay, whether it's a commercial property, a municipal building, or it's a certain geolocation or a residential home, we can actually see what that weather looks like right there. And the same was, how do you also know where to land or how to land?
Yeah.
What do you land on? So you can either land on a rooftop again, and then it goes back down. If you need to bring it into a certain area to have somebody load it or unload it, it would go on to our smart drone landing pads. And those are also data mining solutions as well. And the goal of these data mining solutions, again, is for situational awareness. Each will have those weather sensors. So now we'll be able to know, okay, what is the actual condition, the ambient air, what is the condition of that location for destination?
Okay.
When you take those solutions, those auxiliaries, you're able to say, okay, we have the departure and we have the arrival. And now all we need to do is put weather sensors on the drone and we can have it en route. And then from there, now you can have yourself that situational awareness. And what we're trying to do also at the same time is fill those data gaps between airports, because drones will fly from ground to 400 feet. So where is that information for us to be able to make those decision-making processes? And using that same rooftop that we converted into a smart rooftop and ground drone airport, we're able to now turn around and put weather sensors up there, telemetry, LiDAR, radar, all the different comms and communications. But to us, that's all nodes. And to everything to us, because it's node-centric, we needed a node-centric mesh network. So we were building on the hypergraph in order for us to be able to have this last component, which is how do you get all this data with all those different nodes working on a node-centric mesh network, where your scalability is not going to be your downfall in latency. And then now you have all these edge points. And so now you have a lot of vulnerabilities. So with those vulnerabilities, we want to make sure that there has to be something that can validate this data. And again, this is where the hypergraph becomes a very big solution, because we can then turn around and say, okay, let's get a consensus between nodes and let's validate that data. And we now have scalability. So when we connect this, you'll see the circle behind my picture right now. That is actually the cycle of an order from our full stack mobile app to the actual landing pad, which is right behind me. And you'll see that. So I don't know if you can see the size of these things here, but
yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, so you'll see that the actual the rooftop airport will take the drone, and then it'll bring it to the landing pad, and then it goes to the doorbell, rings the doorbell, and then the customer receives the package. So it's a cycle, but it's a full eco. And then we bring in the crypto as a utility to reward customers for their metadata so we can utilize this in the system.
All right, because we went through 8 different things at once there, and let's back up a little bit. Okay, we went through a lot of stuff right there.
Sure.
And so I want to talk a little bit about, let's go back to the drones themselves, right? And the data they're collecting, right? You guys are also wanting to collect air control data, right? Or the quality control of air. Is there any other data besides wind speed, humidity, things like that that you guys are tracking that's important for drones?
Oh, absolutely. Great question. Drones can do so much depending upon the actual camera's AI. What is the computer vision's capability in terms of what you're trying to take in? So you can do anything from crowd control to drone inspections. So again, depending upon what you're trying to achieve, you can do first responder drones. There's defibrillator drones. There's a 911 drone. You can take the equipment, which they call payloads, and you can change the actual sensors, and you can change the type of hardware, and that payload becomes the solution for that specific use case. Now, the beauty of that rooftop and ground drone airport is we can bifurcate that roof into different drone use cases on one roof. Okay. And now what that allows us to do is pull in different industries. We could pull in the municipality, somebody who wants a drone delivery, a lab test, a traffic drone to see what the traffic is, or just maybe a local even news reporter.
Let's do this, since you brought up the rooftop stuff, and I really want to touch on this, right? So I was going through the white paper and I was reading, and it looks like you guys have some visuals in the white paper about actual homes setting up rooftop drones for deliveries for maybe like an Amazon package, or the thing that sits out on the front of your house where the drone can land, drop off a package, and then take off. How easy is it to set this stuff up? How easy or hard is it to set this stuff up? And how, like for me, living in a townhome, is this something that in the future I'm going to be able to buy something from your online site and set it up outside my house, and then drones will be flying in to deliver things? Is that kind of how it's supposed to work?
Correct. So in the beginning, you're going to see as the drones start to become legal for delivery, we're hoping and anticipating those rules will be approved by next year.
Oh, wow.
What will happen is from the FAA, at a worst case, it might be another year, but we think it might be next year. But what will happen is you'll see a lot of these drones first tethering the actual package onto the grass. The reason why we created a drone landing pad and a smart mailbox landing pad is we needed a hybrid that does both a mailbox and a landing pad, or just the landing pad investment. And now you can actually have something that will deliver there, and it's your package, it's been there, and that will communicate, by the way, with the doorbell if you get that as well, because it'll do a push notification, ring the doorbell. That'll all be connected.
I can imagine now you're ordering pizza and the pizza's coming in like a package, they drop it down, and then boom, you got your pizza right outside. You just go pick it up and you're good. Is that kind of how we're foreseeing this future delivery of food?
Yep.
The malls are going to be filled. We're going to go.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, continue, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. You're picturing it correctly, because in the beginning, like when we watched, let's go backwards a little bit. What made me come up with this concept was I was always watching drones, and I was always watching the military on what they were doing. And I was always saying, I can't wait till this becomes commercialized. Amazon comes out in approximately 2013, 14 with, hey, look, here's a drone. It's dropping something off. We're going to be doing this. So when I looked at that, I said, okay, that's great. And I'm waiting and watching, and I'm like, where'd it come from? Where's it going? How's it charging? Where's it? So all of a sudden I realized that there's a gap here. There's no infrastructure. And so that's where we came up with the repurposing of a worthless rooftop that's more of a liability and expense, and then turning it into a monetized opportunity and making those sensors become an opportunity for data, and allowing that data to be shared in transportation, different modules of transportation. So one of the parts of that commercial was also dropping it in the grass. Now, I'm in Chicago. If you don't like the weather in Chicago, you can pretty much wait 5 minutes and it'll change. So if you're dropping something in the grass, you got to think about it. It's okay. Is there mud, sleet, snow? What did you put it in? So that's where the landing pads become an important factor, because if it's really going to be part of the system, you got to make sure it becomes mass adopted, affordable, and making sense, where you can actually locate it anywhere. If you want to put it on the patio, backyard, front, by the mailbox, or if you just want a mailbox that already has it built in.
That's pretty cool. This technology seems really incredible. It does seem like drone deliveries are the future. Where do you see this going? You see it more going towards deliveries, transportation area, or police use and fire use? Where is the most impact you think the drones are going to make in the industry for people?
So for myself, we're going to be focusing on four vertical markets with the most impact. But for the most impact, we believe that it's going to be the restaurant and retail chain. And that's the low hanging fruit, but it's also the path of least resistance. It's the most adoptable, and it's mass adoption capable because everybody is currently using drivers.
Yeah.
So when the drivers, unfortunately, there's a shortage of them. So we don't have enough human capital for it, and everybody's fighting. So that cost is going up, and that's transferring over to the actual customer. So we see that this is a big opportunity because the third-party delivery business right now is very fractionalized.
Yeah.
And since it's fractionalized, everybody's fighting over who's getting the same customer. The problem here is there's a report that showed from 2017 to 2027 estimation, they figured out that there was $53 billion of lost opportunity, that there's a gap. You will see that the restaurants versus the actual third-party delivery companies, you'll see almost a trading sideways revenue stream on the restaurants, but then you'll see on the third-party companies that are delivering exponentially grow in their revenue. So this gap is about 50, I think it was $53 billion.
Yeah,
and so
right.
The problem here, and so that's lost opportunity. That ain't even new revenue. That's just lost opportunity.
Yeah.
And now these restaurants are losing brand identity, they're held captive to the third-party delivery services. They're not able to actually have the life cycle of the customer because it's not their customer anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas we can actually sit there and build this as a white label, and we can make a Web3 presence within our mobile app that we're building and actually allow them to have their brand identity with us and take away that lost opportunity and put it back into the life cycle of the customer in the hands of the actual vendors.
So you're 100% right. I actually have the question here written out. Pitch Deck talks about between 2017 and 2027, $53 billion are missed opportunities. So for a mom and pop restaurant that would want to take advantage of this, they would need to set up either a rooftop setup or an out front setup, right, for the drones to take off. And is that going to be very expensive for them to set up? Are mom and pop shops going to be able to do this? Or is this more for your retail chains that can afford this newer technology?
This is a great question because if you take the analogy of, let's say I'm a pizza delivery company or just a pizza company and I offer delivery, yeah. Right? I got to have average overhead here that most pizza places will then absorb if we're in that same category. So what are the things that are going to be a standard absorption of expenditure? One, as the owner of the restaurant, I have to always worry about who am I going to hire for delivery? Is that person going to show up? Predominantly, these are part-time workers. Yeah. And so me as an owner, I wind up having to deliver the food if somebody doesn't show up. Number two, I have to constantly, through the churning of employees, constantly saying, I'm going back to school or I'm quitting, this isn't enough or whatever. Yeah. All of a sudden now you have this retraining, and your quality of your actual product goes down. The service goes down. People, during that training process, people need to understand how you expect that customer to receive that pizza and how they should be treated and the follow-up of everything that goes with it. So the problem here is that training is very costly, not just in the sense of downtime to retrain, but the actual effects of them in the learning process of how they make a good process for the customer to be happy. And then you have the fact that you're going to be having all these bills. You're going to have, am I owning a car that they're going to drive? Are they going to have their own car? Is their car going to need a sign? So more than likely, you're going to sit there and say, I've got to reimburse them. I've got to put them, it's better I buy a car. So let's talk about that. What does a car cost? So if I had two drivers and I'm paying two part-time guys or girls or just, let's say teenagers even, let's just say they're 16 and legal to drive. Yeah. Do you really want to trust that with your business? So all these variables come into play, and now you have soaring fuel prices, right? And how do you bring that to the customer? How do you have them absorb it and still be able to maintain the sale? So all these issues become very prevalent, and environmental is a whole new one, right?
Yeah.
So you bring into all of these factors, right? And so you have to now look at this and go, okay, what if we can take the human out of the loop, but change their position, not lose jobs, but actually increase sales, create better quality product, warmer, faster, more touchless, no more tips, higher sales now.
Yeah.
Why? Because if I'm a family who couldn't afford a dessert, I could look at my kids and go, hey kids, there's no tip here anymore.
Yeah. No, it's a
What
benefit.
dessert do you want?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden the ticket sales goes up and it shifts. Now we're creating jobs for techies, people that are going to do maintenance on those drones, people that are going to be operators, but you're also creating jobs for even the preppers. More ticket sales requires more preppers. So you're not actually losing jobs, you're creating new jobs and you're making higher ticket sales, which means now the municipalities, the states, and the Fed are all going to make more sales tax, Fed tax.
Yeah.
All of these things benefit. And so what's the buy-in then to the landlord? The landlord, look, you have a worthless real estate on your roof right now. It's a liability. And you have one end cap where somebody drives through the drive-in. One person benefiting from that. What if you can make a drone, what we call a vertiport in a box solution, an airport in a box solution? What if we could repurpose your roof based on the size of it and what we can put up there? Any landing pads, charging stations, drones, weather information. And now you can offer it to all your tenants for a little bit more rent and maybe even ticket sales sharing. You can actually give them all the same benefit that NCAP only had one of your tenants benefiting. So
Yeah. Wow.
this is the buy-in.
No, and I imagine without having all of those extra drivers driving around, spending money on gas, polluting or whatever, you're living a cleaner, more carbon-friendly life for your business and the people around you. What is the area around? Let's say I owned a restaurant in the middle of the Bay Area, right? And I wanted to deliver, like, how far can some of these drones deliver? Is it like a 10-mile, 20-mile? Where is that point where you guys are like, hey, you recommend to your customers, your clients that are wanting to onboard this technology that, hey, you need to have this in a 10-mile area or whatever? Or is it something that can go on for 50 miles, then come back?
So that's actually a very interesting and detailed question because I can get real deep on that.
Yeah, please do. I like it.
But it's a great question because it becomes several pieces to the elements of what makes that answer. So for instance, how is the wind? Is the wind taking away from the battery? Or are you using a battery compared to fuel? And if you're using fuel or a hybrid. So for us, we want to try to use electric batteries. And this way we can have them charge, recharge. And now it becomes, but you need that rooftop to have different capabilities. So that way, because let's say a municipality turns around and says, I'm not looking for delivery here. I'm looking for first responder and I need to get somewhere for 50 miles. Give me an engine that can stay in the air for 3-4 hours. So now you have to look at those variables, right?
Yeah.
But somebody with a delivery, that going back to that pizza delivery person, now you can turn around and say, hey, right now, as the crow flies, your customers are 1 mile and 3 mile, predominantly in that density area, correct? And they'll probably say yes. And you say, okay, so you really need a 1, 3, and 5 mile drone that can actually get there and come back and still do it within 30 minutes or less, because you'll have about 30 to 45 minutes of airtime safely. So how fast can a drone, a typical drive might take 30 minutes. A drone could take 3 minutes to get there, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So by the time it comes back, it's got time to charge. And if you start changing those drones, like one comes, one goes, like how many do you need based on the volume?
Yeah.
So you brought up a very good point too, is you're bringing traffic down big time.
Yeah.
Once this gets adopted, all that traffic and carbon footprint, and you're not worrying about that when you fly. When you fly, you're flying as the crow flies and straight to where you need to go. So faster, safer, you're out of the way of everything. You can fly up to 400 feet with drones. My eyes, personally, I can't see it higher past 100 feet. It starts to look like part of the sky. So those are things you don't think about. It's very true because this is stuff that they're really pushing for. All the different, even in Europe and all over the world, they're pushing to do this. This is going to be mass adopted. They want
Yeah.
the mass adoption, by the way.
Yeah.
So for us, we didn't want to be the best drone manufacturer. We didn't want to be, because let's face it, drones have been made forever. So it's like somebody's got a better drone and they're going to have another better one tomorrow. But what if we can make an infrastructure, an autonomous infrastructure using existing structures and repurposing them? And so now we can become a mass adoption by not alienating the different types of manufacturers for drones. We can bring them in, embedded systems, allow them to actually integrate. And this becomes to us nothing more than a node. We are the infrastructure, no different than, and this is how we look at this, no different than an airport. So an airport, they don't care if you're a 720, a Cessna 172 single engine small plane, or if you're a Boeing 777 that's carrying 400 souls. They don't care what you are. You need their space, their airspace, their landing space. You need a place to fuel, to store, to maintenance, and you need a place to frog leap between missions. And so you call that a hub and spoke relationship. So like an international airport would be like a hub. So for us, if we take that same adoption and we say, oh, this is a big rooftop, we can make this equivalent to a hub. But then there might be a small restaurant that can be a spoke. So it'd be like a small airport.
You guys are really building some incredible technology. Let's talk a little bit about the app, right? Because the app really facilitates all of this technology, right? In this app, you're going to have many different features, including there's a wallet, right? A Nexus wallet. There's the doorbell, which you're going to be able to access. Are you going to be able to order? Is it going to be, you're ordering through the app with your system? Explain how that technology is going to work so people can better understand it.
Sure. So I'm a customer. I pull up the app because just like in any third-party delivery service, I want to be able to say, okay, I'm not willing to drive there. I don't have time to drive there. I just want to order what I'm ordering.
Yeah.
So now I look at it and I say, okay, I want, and I'm going to use the delivery for food for right now. But when you open the app, it's going to say, need a ride. It's going to say inspection.
Cool.
So you can you can choose a drone inspection. It's going to say, and need a ride, by the way, is for the autonomous cars, but we're building it right now so it can also do manual vehicles. Yeah. And so this is what we call the first ever multimodal transportation app, the autonomous infrastructure. So there is no autonomous app right now, and there is no multimodal app where it can do both ground robots, drones, vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, or cars. So the goal is to pay attention that the future is already here, but where's the app? Yeah. And so if we could find out that the weather is not good for a drone, it's not conducive for flight, but it's conducive for a ground robot, it'll say, which convenience would you like? Would you like the ground robot? Or let's say all of them are available. What is the convenience fee you're willing to pay on what's going to get there quicker? So now the owner of that restaurant can literally say, you know what, I want to offer all these. I want a ground robot, I want a drone, and I want a car. Yeah. So now where you would have paid all these salaries and lost money in training and everything else, you're just buying equipment from us and connecting it to our system. And then we're going to be able to sit there and offer this technology to your customer who's going to choose the app. I'd like a delivery. What do you want? I want pizza. Okay, here's the geolocations of the pizza places. Here's the ratings and reviews. Here, which one do you like more? I like this one. Great. Okay, here are your options for that particular pizza place. They offer a ground robot, a drone, and a vehicle. Which one would you prefer? They're all available right now. And so that's the goal.
Cool. That's so cool, man. And it's really incredible just talking about this technology. I just picture it in the next 2 to 5 years, we're going to be seeing all this stuff happening around us. Let's talk a little bit more about the air and the air quality and the wind information, the weather information, right? That in itself could be a profitable business, right? Because there are other companies and people that want this information themselves for other purposes other than maybe drones and things like that. Are you guys going down that route too, thinking that, hey, we're going to be able to either sell or lease this information to other businesses as another revenue profit stream?
Absolutely. There's a lot of data that's going to come from this and a lot of people that can benefit from it, from aviation to ground transportation. But you can also utilize this in different verticals. So one of the repurposing, right? Another repurposing. How do we repurpose data? After me as a pilot, if I'm flying, I need to know situational awareness right now. So what's the weather? If I'm flying a drone, or if I'm flying a plane, or if I'm flying or if I'm just using a ground robot, I need existing real-time situational awareness. What is the current conditions of the weather, whether it's wind and by the way, using wind is a variable that changes, and it can change 50 feet increments. It can change 100 feet increments. Right now, that's another data gap that we're filling, right? Because where you are relying on satellites that can degrade in quality after 3,000 feet, and now they're guessing what the weather is in your pocket of your area. Now you can do dense data from that. You can actually start going right to almost a surface level and say, here's what the wind is like. Here's what and so that's all very important when you get into the AI of things, where becomes an AI decision. So that's the next step of things. But when you look at a totality of where this data is going to come from, it's coming from all of those nodes. So the drone is a node, the landing pad's a node, everything's a node. So now where does that, if I'm a pilot, I want to make sure that I have that information now, but do I really care about it later? Yeah. No, I'm done. I move on. So what happens is a lot of this data is purged, or it's not even known about. So how do we repurpose that data? We bring it to our autonomous mobility exchange, where in the autonomous mobility exchange, we can now turn around and say, this exchange allows you to have sub-exchanges. So the weather data exchange, the university data exchange, the energy data exchange. Now we're repurposing data, the same data that we would have normally, first off, nobody even knew existed. Second off, if you can't find it, you don't know about it. So you now have a location of where it's at. Third, if you're the actual creator of the genesis of that data, and you are now wanting to put it on an autonomous market maker environment that we're going to create, then now all of a sudden you can change the same digital asset into different sub exchanges. So now you can turn around and multiply that sale value by going into different exchanges. If I'm a gaming company and I want to have the gaming data exchange, I can use that same weather information that aviation needed right now, and I can use it in a game later. Yeah. So all of a sudden, this becomes a multifaceted repurpose use case on the same digital asset that you would have normally purged out. You would have said, I need my chip empty on my next drone inspection. No, don't do that. That could be, if that's sitting on the node-centric mesh network and using the hypergraph, and we have validated, trusted data, and now we have discoverable data on our exchange, you got the two pieces you need to create a market. So that creates that last component, by the way, Robert, is I'm the customer now and I want that data. Yeah. How do we walk through that process? So I'm going to do a query. I'm going to say, this is the data I'm looking for. And dynamically, there should be communication between a real-time data acquisitioner, which is the user, the buyer, and then you have the actual data creator, the Genesis distributor. Those two have their own dashboards, but one is querying what they're looking for and the other one's negotiating. And so after this dynamic negotiation of the terms and conditions are agreed to, we have what we call that we're building a non-fungible right on layer 1 and layer 0. A non-fungible right is equal to a building. When you buy a building or a property or a house, you get a bundle of rights. So what is the bundle of rights? I have the right to kick you off my property. I have the right to the mineral rights. I have the right to the air rights. I could rent my property. That's a bundle of rights. So I took that concept and turned it into a digital data bundle of rights. And so when this negotiation of the terms and conditions are being made by the buyer and the seller of that data for that repurposed data, all of a sudden now, once it's agreed to, it goes from dynamic to static because you make a non-fungible, and that non-fungible becomes the contract. And you could take, now I'm still the creator. I can now go right to another sub-exchange and start all over with a new person with the same data under new terms and conditions.
Man, it's really incredible. You guys are creating, there's going to be jobs, more jobs, new jobs being created that people haven't really even thought of yet that are going to be having to handle some of this. And drone, people that are fixing drones, taking care of drones, and then the decks in the air. Walk us through the utility, right, of why you guys chose the hypergraph. Why did you guys choose Constellation and DAG? Was it just their awesome technology, their low fees? There's other blockchains you guys probably could have used, but what was the thought behind going with them?
So great question, because to us, Constellation, they're not only now as the military has pretty much validated them, right? 2 years ago, when we were on board with them saying this is the technology, a little over that, I don't know. The whole idea was to say, okay, we have this concept, but we have gaps here we got to fill, and there's got to be some kind of technology. This can't really succeed with this type of data going through pipelines without having latency issues. And if you're talking aviation, you can't afford latency issues. And then what about all of the cyber sides of things?
Sure.
And how do you validate this data? This is important data, right? And so you had to think about, okay, blockchain, validated data, hypergraph, what are the solutions? And then the state channels. That's a beautiful situation, is the state channels, right? Because we could build as a state channel. We can bring other people into the eco as a state channel, but on the hypergraph. And so when you ask the question of like, where does the utility come into place? For us, the DISC coin is going to be rewards, and that rewards will be based on loyalty rewards, and it'll also be based on social rewards. Now, here's the beauty of the social rewards portion of this. This is something that was really thought out about. If that restaurant just saved on carbon footprint because they went from having 5 trucks to 1 autonomous electric car, and now all of a sudden we took three trucks off the road, but now they also have 4 new drones for their increase in sales, which we didn't add cars, we took away, or they would have added. Now, what does that have as a value? They might receive rewards for that carbon footprint, and people are seeing that as a customer. Hey, not only is this my favorite pizza place, but this guy, this girl, whoever it is, they're sitting there, they're helping the environment right now. Look at their carbon footprints credit. What is the benefit that they did that they're affecting? So we want to try to give social rewards for them that they can apply commercials within our contained environment to our customers that they can utilize that for. Just like the crypto rewards, where a customer will be able to provide metadata and utilize it towards their favorite restaurant.
I love that, Mike. And yeah, I was actually going to ask you about the DISC token next. So besides loyalty rewards and social rewards, what other utility will it have? Are you going to be using the DISC token to buy and order things, or is it mainly going to be just for loyalty and the other thing that you said, the loyalty and social?
So the first goal is to make sure that it's all related to a utility of rewards, where you can, when you receive those rewards, we want those rewards to be utilized. And it creates an exchange, so to speak, between the buyer and the vendor, because the customer is receiving rewards, and those rewards provide them crypto to apply towards a vendor. If that vendor receives those rewards and accepts them because they know they're in that environment, now they're basically exchanging those rewards that they can use towards maybe commercials or something. So we're now creating that supply and demand between a buyer and a seller, but it's really a customer and a vendor, and they're both trying to utilize that crypto.
No, I love that.
For us,
I love that. Sorry,
great. So yeah, for us though, we're trying to actually just get the data, right? So that's the main goal.
Data is everything, and data is going to be the most powerful thing going forward. Are you using any other technology in your applications besides facial? And you guys are using facial and voice, right, in the smart doorbell, and I'm assuming maybe the app too. Are you guys using any other technologies like that in any other of your utilities?
So, for instance, one of our partners, which is Finavant, and they have, so Constellation, clearly a partner in the sense that we're all part of the flight program. We all graduated from it, right? And we support this through and through. We're hardcore believers in it. We believe the technology is necessary. But we also believe something like Finavant, for example, who has the BioFi side of it. They have the technology for the voice and the facial recognition that will allow us to create tiers. And this is the way we look at this. If we're a municipality and we're the sheriff's department or we're Homeland Security, we might not want the same access that anybody else can have on that app. So now you can actually use that type of technology, not just to protect the crypto wallet that we're making or the access to who is using my app, but you can actually start bifurcating the type of services that somebody can utilize assigned to that voice and face.
That's incredible, Mike. Talk to us about the crypto wallet you just brought up, right? It's called the Nexus wallet. When do you guys plan on developing that? And is that going to be used for the exchange of information? And once you guys have all that set up, like air information and weather information?
Yeah, so the Nexus digital wallet we call it the Disk Nexus wallet.
Nexus.
And what that is, it's going to be embedded into the user app. And that'll allow us to give all types of liquidity in terms of how somebody's going to use. We believe that adoption of all these decentralized crypto is going to be massive. There's going to be so many different cryptos available out there. So, we want to create that liquidity opportunity where somebody can say, I'm bringing in this network with this crypto that I have that's just sitting there. I might want to use it to purchase an NFT like a smart delivery doorbell data miner or a smart landing pad miner. Or I might want to use it to just pay for my shipping costs on getting that drone there. So there's different things that you can utilize that wallet for, but we also want that opportunity of not just credit cards and using crypto, but to utilize both of them, where you're saying, look, this is a full turnkey platform. Do you want to access your bank account and directly, or do you want to load it with a gift card? Because that's another thing we're working on, by the way. The
gift card, right?
We're creating the first gift cards, that will be crypto gift cards that you can actually utilize in that digital wallet. And by the way, we're halfway done with it. We've already beta tested some of the digital wallet already, but we're not ready to give it out or do any betas with it yet, because we haven't even launched our crypto yet, which, by the way, the white paper's out, but we are on that whitelist part right now.
Very detailed.
Yeah. But what that will do now is I want you to picture like you're using a Starbucks, right? And you happen to have, let's say Starbucks comes out with their own crypto, or it's using our Disk crypto. You might want to load their actual digital card through our digital wallet with some type of gift that you can give to somebody else through our wallet that has another wallet. And by the way, that wallet will also integrate with other wallets like MetaMask, Stargazer. We're working on that right now.
That's huge.
So you'll be able to choose. Yeah, you'll be able to choose which wallet within the wallet you want to use, so we don't alienate anybody that just is accustomed to their own.
And then you're not a siloed island, right? You're going to be able to work with other wallets, which is very important, right? Because I know from myself, I have 10 different crypto wallets because there's 10 different chains, and it gets a little frustrating, and being able to use everything under one roof would make things a lot easier. I saw in the white paper you guys are building metaverse drone racing. Is that with Finovon in their ethos verse, or are you guys creating your own metaverse to do drone racing?
Yeah, so we're really excited. We're one of our provider partners, which is Finovon. We're working on a couple different projects, and one of them is the one you're talking about. We're within their environment. We are creating a ethos metaverse, so to speak, for the drone racing. We've already started working on those NFTs. We have several of them made already. And we're at the stage now where we're getting the coding done. So that way we can actually start doing the first drone racing within the metaverse. And so
I've actually
that is what we're working with.
I've had the pleasure of looking at some of these designs, and your father, in fact, drew a couple of these designs. They look pretty incredible.
Yeah, his name is actually Michelangelo, so it's kind of comical because
it's perfect. It's perfect.
And honestly, he actually draws like he's taken Michelangelo drawings and actually can draw it. So one day I just stopped him and I said, sketch me a drone in your head, because he was in the Air Force, and I told him, just sketch me a drone. So he just drew his own, and I said, okay, thanks. And from there, we built it from a drone to a sketch into a static MT, and then we brought it into a dynamic MP4 animated NFT. So cool. And now we've taken that same one and we've already brought it into a metaverse gaming side with Finovon, and that's the first one we're working on. It's evolved that far from that sketch.
Hey, I was looking at a project called Morpheus Network, and the gentleman behind that actually sketched their thing on a paper napkin and then built a company from from that. So a lot of great things come from little sketches. That's how things get done, it seems.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, because I'm sure there's people at home going to be watching this later and they're like, man, how close are we to this technology? Like, how far are we away from people flying around in unmanned or unmanned driven vehicles, right? So a drone comes in, drops down on your street, you get in, and it picks you up and takes you to the airport. Like, how far away is that? Is that 5 years? Is that 10 years away? What would you say, Mike?
So with the air taxis, which they'll call VTOLs, vertical takeoff and landing vehicles,
VTOL.
those aren't far. You're thinking probably 2-3 years,
Cool.
They'll start allowing like the testing to become a reality. So my guess would be within 5 years, you'll start seeing, just like you would see almost like a bus stop, right? But it's going to be on a rooftop. And that's part of what the drone rooftop and ground drone airport is called for that reason. Because to us, a drone is anything autonomous.
Yeah.
So the rooftop can be repurposed to take those vertical takeoff and landing vehicles or drones. And then the ground section can take the ground robots or cars. So we're creating this building that's being repurposed. Now, with all those sensors, we can actually digitize it into a digital twin. So we can actually start doing predictive analytics. We can start seeing life cycle analytics of different uses, and that you're turning the building alive.
It's crazy how many applications and things you guys are working on. Usually you have just 1 or 2 use cases. You guys have 10 or 12. You guys are also building an NFT marketplace, right? For the drones and for other use cases. Explain what other use cases will be for the NFT marketplace. What can people buy and sell, or what will they be trading on this?
Sure. The website that we just finished is a Web3 website. It's droneindustrysystems.io.
Okay.
And on there, we've just finished making the NFT marketplace. But it's a gallery for us.
Okay.
And on that gallery, we're actually selling. We have a first series right now called the Rainbow Glow drone. And what that is, we're selling them as just collectors NFTs, but they have an option attached to it that when the actual smart delivery doorbell's done, they can opt in to use it as a key. So that way they can get the crypto rewards when they start mining and validating data from it. So we've already made that actual website. It already accepts seven crypto. And here's the cool thing. This is how much we support Constellation, okay? We announced that we actually accept DAG as payment. So we're actually turning that into actual money.
That's beautiful. People love that.
So and we're literally working right now on getting that Stargazer built into both the website, our Web3 website, and in that Disk Nexus wallet as an option. Because we believe that the more we support the Constellation technology and adopt it as actual monetary currency value, like where it just has a monetary value, that it will become a value. It'll become like a dollar bill. Nobody will look at it any different. And that's our belief. So our first step in that belief is we'll accept it. Just like we accept 7 different other crypto and credit cards on that Web3, we're building it to accept both Lattice and DAG.
You're making it easier for people to be able to buy and sell things on there. And that's really good information. So if people are listening, that's for sale right now if you want to go. Do you know how many are left off the top of your head? I know it's a random question, but...
No, yeah. I'm not sure how many. I'd have to ask Jamie. She's my vice president of business development. But I will tell you this. There are 3 series right now. So the first series was the doorbell. They're all doorbell related, but the first series was the Glow one.
Okay.
And each one of them have a rarity to it. So the attributes, every time you click on one, it'll tell you either it's sold or it's available. It'll show you a static image. Here's what's really cool about this gallery that I'm happy with, what I'm excited about, is not only can you accept the different cryptos, and we're going to keep adding to that, but you can actually choose different galleries or different marketplaces for NFT and see, once you buy it, you can see what it looks like in their actual marketplace.
That's pretty cool.
So within the website. But when you go to see it and choose from it, you're going to be able to choose it and see a static image of it, and then a dynamic animation next to it. And then you'll be able to see the attributes right under it. So you'll be able to see the rarity of it. You'll be able to see all that. And so that was the first stage of the NFTs. But there's a second and third series we haven't even released over there yet. So as soon as that's all filled up, that'll open up.
Okay.
And that's also where we're going to put the racing drones, by the way, that we're working on, those NFTs. So the animated NFTs for the racing drones will also be put there as well.
What is the series going to be on the racing drones? How many? Is that like a 10,000 or 5,000 series?
I think the way right now we have 12 different models.
Yeah.
And then I think it's going to probably be about 10,000 when it's all said and done, because we want to make this to where you can actually race them. And not just race them, but how do you get rewards for racing? We got to stay away from the certain words we want to say, but we can't say.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. But the bottom line is it's different models. It's pretty cool. We're using different models like antique cars versus muscle cars versus like,
exotic,
is it an F-16 fighter plane? Yeah. So different series, but different categories within the models.
So there's so many different aspects of the business, right? You guys are doing drones, doorbells, weather, transportation, delivery. I know you guys have a bunch of patents that you're working to try and secure. With all of this going on, what is the most important thing you guys are working towards? I know it's all very important, but there has to be something that is the holy grail to you guys. And what would that be, if you can talk to us about that?
Sure. So for us, if touching on the patents, we have several patents that can pretty much, that we filed. There's almost at least 15 that we filed, and they're at different stages. They're all going through the process. Some are further than others, but most important one for right now is the Smart Rooftop and Ground Drone Airport, because for us, what we want to do is create that first beta, repurposing a rooftop and then bringing in third-party manufacturers where we can actually show them, hey, this is an open platform. And not only is it open platform, but let's bring in the FAA and let's do a use case on this. This particular customer wants drone delivery or lab testing or inspections, whatever the case may be. Let's take that rooftop, repurpose it, and let's connect it and now monetize from that IP. So for us, it's about licensing, right? If you look at the white paper we just released, our goal is to have 10,000 rooftops over that 10-year period. And in terms of like our goal, our ultimate goal. And you'll see in there that there's a distribution set aside for how much crypto. So 10,000 rooftops, we're actually going to reward the people that are going to give us those rooftops with crypto. It's going to be put aside for them. And you'll see that there's 100,000 for each rooftop. You'll also see the same concept for the doorbells, and you'll see the same concept for the landing pads. So in this white paper, we're actually putting that information up front. You're able to see up front, look, these are the components. You got 2 auxiliaries that are necessary here. You got landing pads, you got doorbells. This gives us, a real situational awareness. And then we've got the rooftop. We need all these things, right? So we've set aside these pools that are going to be part of the total tokenomics of that.
Gotcha. There's so much stuff here, Mike. Is there anything that maybe we haven't talked about that you feel is important that we need to bring up and let people know? If I missed anything or not asked a certain question, let me know.
Sure. You brought up one part, which is those NFTs are for sale right now. Very important to us to get those NFTs out. The more we sell, those are going to be rarities because it shows what kind of rarity it is. And every time we go with a new series, it's taking the totality of all series for that rarity. And when you turn that into that crypto reward, next thing that we're going to be putting a 3-page, because we haven't issued that. We issued the whole white paper in publication, but we didn't do the 3-page. And the reason why is we want to take that 100,000 and show how long it takes you to get those rewards. So we're going to make a template for that within the 3-page. Okay. But for us right now, the most important thing is starting to get those NFTs sold, right? And then the launch. There's a whitelist right now form that you can go online on that same website, and you can fill out your interest if you're going to be interested in a seed round, private 1, private 2, or public, and how much you're interested in, and accredited, not accredited. And we're also, one of our other partners is Chainraise, and so we actually are going to be working with them on doing a crowdfunding round. And we are also finishing our private placement memorandum, which will allow us to do a Reg D on a separate offering. Those are all moving parts that I've been working on, and I'm at the end of those drafting, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I bet. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're getting close on all of that, and we're pretty excited. We're very excited about the community in terms of the support they're giving towards like Constellation, for example. It's just an amazing community, and all these different partners that we can bring in. We've brought in several partners that we're going to work with right now. We're working on even more, so we're excited about the whole situation.
Is there any partners you can disclose? I know sometimes there's things that you can't discuss, but I know you guys are working with Ben Diggle. He's one of your advisors from Constellation, Brian Moff from Finovant. I know you guys have a really fantastic leadership group for the company.
Yeah, a couple companies I can't go over yet because we're under NDA.
Yeah.
But there are some exciting companies I will tell you about I'll give you the info when the time is right. When I don't get in trouble for it. But let's put it this way: one of the technologies we're going to be able to do is we call it frog leaping, but it's frequency hopping. It will actually, so one of the people we're working with is we're going to be able to frequency hop between frequencies that are available rather than be stuck with one. That'll be embedded in our data mining solutions in our hardware.
And what is the value
That's an
of
important
frequency
thing for us.
What is the value of frequency hopping for the people that might not understand that value?
So you might only have a frequency that, let's say, for example, Helium uses one particular one, but Verizon uses their own, right? So everybody uses their own frequencies. But if you can have an antenna and a system and an algorithm that allows you to hop between what's available, where there's no license requirements, and you can use it as needed, you now have a full spectrum frequency hopping capability. And we'll be the first to ever offer that on top of the data mining solutions that nobody's offering.
So easier way to explain this to people that might not fully understand this is, let's say somebody orders a Verizon phone and you need to get on the Verizon network to identify the customer or where the phone's going. The antenna would be able to jump to that frequency and into their system, do that, and then if it comes back and then it's on a food delivery for McDonald's, then it goes to McDonald's frequency and that's the way that you're explaining that. Is that correct?
It is, but in the sense that you're not those. Let's say Verizon will say you have to be on ours or you can't use it.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to say you don't need to be on just Verizon. We're not going to access Verizon because Verizon would lock us out if you weren't a Verizon customer. But what we are going to do is we're going to say whatever frequencies available, free, unused, that within the spectrum that can actually hop between these different frequencies. This is where technology is going to go, because the way it is right now, it's too siloed, and we need to be able to create that diversity at the edge. So that allows us to do something what we call inverted data aggregation architecture. So that basically means we will be able to take the edge and actually invert the network, so that way you can actually fractionalize. Let's face it, right now chips are faster than entire rooms used to be with central processing. So like these central banks of data is not even necessary. We've been approved with NVIDIA as one of our partners, and we're going to be putting their chip in these things. And so that's one thing I can tell you.
Nice. We got a little alpha. Alpha.
Yeah, but the beauty of this is that you take a chip that powerful, and now you might not need all that power. So with an inverted aggregated data at the edge on cloud, you can actually start sharing the processing of each node, the cloud of each node. Do you see where I'm going with this? And now the frequency of each node. So this becomes like this. That's part of the system we're working on.
It's really forward thinking. You guys are definitely ahead of the ball as far as technology goes and what you're trying to accomplish. Truly incredible, Mike. Is there anything that we've left out? Because that was a huge thing at the end there. That's pretty incredible. I had no idea that you guys were doing that.
Yeah, and we have a few partners that this is going to be an exciting thing to deal with right now, but it's the goal, right? So The first goal was let's get a website up that is Web3. Let's be who we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And then let's see if we can get an actual gallery up there for the NFTs we want to make. Okay, now we made the NFTs, we made the actual gallery. And now let's go ahead and start working on the full stack apps. So we're working on the back end. We're working on the mobile apps on the front end. So this is where we're at right now.
Mike, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for giving us a behind the scenes look of everything that you guys are building and all the newest technology you guys are bringing to the forefront of innovation for Web3. I really appreciate your time today, and let us know when that alpha information is available. I'd love to have you back for an update, and we can let people know all the crazy partnerships you can't tell us right now.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate your time as well, and it's been awesome.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Mike. I'm going to go ahead and end it here today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you need more information, please visit them on Twitter or website. I will leave everything in the description, their website and their Twitter. Mike, can you say the Twitter and the website one more time for people if they're trying to find you right now?
Sure. So it's at Drone Industry One for Twitter. And then for the website, it's droneindustrysystems.io.
Great.
And we're also on Telegram as well. That's a little longer.
But give it to us. You might as well give it to us, and we can add it to the thing at the end.
I want to make sure I get that one right, so I'll text it.
Yeah, that's perfect, Mike. That's perfect. All right, I'm going to end the recording here.